Let's talk about books set in national parks. Hi, I'm Erin and I'm a travel blogger at Flying Off the Bookshelf, and I write all about travel, books, and Disney. So first of all, if you like any of those things, be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, if you want more national parks books than what we're going to talk about today, I will put a link in the description of this video to a blog post I have with even more national park book recommendations. And if you're a big reader, I'll also put a link where you can get my free 100 must-read books set around the world list, because I know if you're a reader like I am, you always love adding to your TBR. So I have about, I think, 19 books to talk about today, ranging from novels. I have a ton of nonfiction. I even have a few children's books to talk about. Some of these I have read, some of these I have not read. All of them I know are beloved by people and come highly recommended, and I'm going to tell you all about them. Okay, so first up, I have them all sitting on a very tedious stack over here. First up is The Last Ranger by Peter Heller. I also did check a lot of these out from the library so I could show you, but this is my pet peeve about library books, is how they put the sticker up here so that you can't see the full title. But this is The Last Ranger by Peter Heller. I really like Peter Heller. I've read a lot of his books. I have not read this one yet, but I would like to. This is set in Yellowstone National Park, and it follows a national park ranger named Wren. And he comes across a poacher chasing a black bear, and something is not right. And so as he starts to look into that more, he uncovers some darker secrets. Peter Heller has fantastic nature writing in the books I've read by him, so I'm sure this one is no different. Again, this is in Yellowstone National Park, so this might be one to pick up if you're planning a trip there. And I definitely would like to read this one at some point. Next up, we have The Vanishing Edge by Claire Kells. You'll find a lot of national park books I feel like are mysteries and kind of outdoor adventures, and this one is no different. So this is set in Sequoia National Park, and it is again kind of something is not right. So there is an investigator named Felicia, and they come across an abandoned campsite. She has to investigate it, and what's going on may be bigger than just a missing camper. I think there's like a private company involved. I've heard really good things about this one. I have not read it, but I do like that it's set in Sequoia National Park. I always love when I can find a book that is set like not in Yellowstone. So this is another one that you might want to add to your list, especially if you like kind of outdoor mysteries. Okay, next up, Track of the Cat by Nevada Barr. You can't see her name there because library sticker. I think I might read this one. Nevada Barr writes books set all over like all the national parks. So this is her first one, and it is set in Guadalupe Mountains National Park. I don't think I've ever seen another book set in Guadalupe Mountains, so I love that about this. It looks really intriguing to me. It is about a ranger named Anna who has to solve a mystery, but she's also very concerned about protecting the wildlife in the national park. I think that mountain lions play a big part in this book. So this is one that I checked out from the library for this video and to talk about, and I think I might keep it and give it a try. Okay, and last for fiction, we have Beartooth by Callan Wink. This book just came out this year, and it is about two brothers who live near Yellowstone National Park, and they have to fight for their survival. And I believe that then they are faced with a choice. They are given kind of a deal because they really need money, and it could have some bad consequences. So if you like thrillers and suspense that lean kind of literary, as in make you think a little bit more and can kind of burn a little slower, this one may be for you. Okay, next up we're going to talk about nonfiction, and I have a bunch of nonfiction books because there are a lot of nonfiction books about national parks. So I'm going to start with one of my absolute favorites called Leave Only Footprints, My Acadia to Zion Journey Through Every National Park by Connor Knighton. I adore this book, and this book is probably one of the big reasons why I set out to eventually have a goal to visit every national park at some point in my life. In this book, he does it in a year. This is about his year spent visiting every single national park. He goes through a breakup, wants something new in his life, decides to do this. He's also a CBS correspondent, so he kind of like starts doing this and is like, hey, can you pay me and I will do some features for you to kind of make it work. One thing I really like about this book is it's very philosophical, but it's also very funny. I surprisingly laughed out loud multiple times. But instead of it being like a travel saga where he lays out each of his visits, this book, he groups each national park by theme. So each chapter, he'll like talk about different parks. So for example, chapter 2 is water, where he talks about hot springs and Biscayne Bay. He has one called Trees, which is Joshua Tree, Sequoia, Kings Canyon, and Redwood. He even gets a little bit more philosophical and has one about forgiveness, which is Dry Tortugas and Petrified Forests. Or Diversity, which is Mount Rainier and Shenandoah. So he really talks about these national parks more thematically, and I feel like he really lets every national park shine, even if it's one that you maybe haven't heard of before. I love this book and I highly recommend it. Next up is another fun one called America the Beautiful. It has a question mark at the end by Blythe Roberson. I have read this one and it's really fun. So this is another one where someone sets out to visit national parks in a certain time frame. She does not go to all the national parks, but she does go to many of them. She does a lot of the popular loops and kind of takes this great American road trip to visit these national parks. And she asks a lot of questions like, why do we want to get out on the open road? Why do we have to go out into nature to like find ourselves? She talks about the difference between men taking a trip like this and women taking a trip like this. There's a lot of her book that focuses on that. Traveling solo to the national parks as a woman. It's very, very funny. A very fun and quick read. Definitely recommend this one. Okay, next up, The Hour of the Land, A Personal Topography of America's National Parks by Terry Tempest Williams. Y'all, I have checked this book out of the library multiple times and I still haven't read it yet. Maybe this will be the time because it's in my house again. But this is a very literary, philosophical, reflective look at America's national parks and why they are important to us. Terry Tempest Williams is known for her beautiful writing. This book is known for its beautiful nature writing, and I really want to read it. Okay, next up, another funny book, Subpar Parks, America's Most Extraordinary National Parks and Their Least Impressed Visitors. This is by Amber Scher. And y'all, this book is so funny and also very interesting. So Amber Scher is an artist and she has taken like 1-star reviews that people actually leave for national parks and turn them into artwork. I think she has an Instagram page where she started doing this. That's how it started. But now it is a book and she takes that artwork with the 1-star reviews humorously and juxtaposes them with real information about the national parks. She shares kind of what each national park really is about, fun facts about it. I'm going to find my favorite one real quick. Okay, this is my favorite one from Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Didn't even get to touch lava. Like, what did you think you were going to do? Anyway, if you want to laugh and also to learn something, this is a great book. And this is a great one to just flip through. Like, you don't have to read it straight through. You can just flip through it and have some fun. Next up, another book that is on my TBR list, A Walk in the Park by Kevin Fedarko. I have heard excellent things about this one. I actually, not only do I have it from the library right now, but I also have the ebook downloaded to read at some point. So Kevin Fedarko is very well known for his nonfiction writing about national parks. We're actually going to talk about another one of his books in a minute. This one is about hiking through the Grand Canyon. So he has a friend who asks him if he wants to walk end to end across the Grand Canyon together, claiming it's going to be no big deal. But he does not realize that a lot of people claim that this is actually one of the hardest hikes in the world. So they set out kind of unprepared on this epic hike through the Grand Canyon. I've heard the audiobook on this is really excellent too. But also if you get the physical book, you do get like pictures. If you want an adventure story, survival story, this would be a great one. Okay, next up is another Kevin Fedarko book. This is The Emerald Mile. This is his older book, also set in the Grand Canyon. And it is about how in, let me check the year, 1983, there was a big El Nino event. And they had like dam failures and had to release water. And basically the Colorado River became just incredibly dangerous, huge rapids, and there are these two guys who had a boat called the Emerald Mile, and they were determined to go down it and to become, because of that, the fastest boat to ever go through the Grand Canyon. Another one, if you really like adventure and survival stories, this might be for you. I feel like my pile is going to topple over here. Okay, last nonfiction book. And last adult book is The Last Season by Eric Blem. This is another book that adventure survival, but also mystery. So it is about a national parks backcountry ranger named Randy Morganson who disappeared, and they don't know what happened to him. He was out camping, he didn't return. This is very much if you like Into the Wild, Jon Krakauer, or other kinds of like true crime outdoor mysteries, you might want to add this one to your list. Okay, next up we're going to talk about some kids books, because not only do I think if you're going to national parks it's really important to include your kids in the reading, but even as an adult I love reading kids books about things like national parks and places around the world, because it's a really easy way to get a lot of information quickly. Okay, the first one I have is The Camping Trip That Changed America, Theodore Roosevelt, John Muir, and Our National Parks by Barb Rosenstock, illustrated by Mordecai Gerstein. This is a book about Teddy Roosevelt and John Muir going camping and how it inspired Teddy Roosevelt to protect our national lands. It talks about their time together and how they discovered Yosemite together. No, they didn't discover Yosemite. It's about how they explored Yosemite together. Then at the end, how that really inspired Teddy Roosevelt to become the president that saved more wild land than any other president in history. So this is a great one for your elementary schoolers. Next up, Our Great Big Backyard by Laura Bush and Jenna Bush Hager. This is a really cute book about a family who goes on a Great American Road Trip over the summer and visits a bunch of national parks. And the kids are so annoyed because their other friends get to do cool things and be on their devices all summer, and they just want to be on their iPads. But then they discover how cool America really is and how many amazing national parks we have. And just kind of how this trip helped them fall in love with nature, which I think so many people can relate to that, taking big family trips like that and falling in love with national parks as kids. Oh, I forgot to say, this one illustrated by Jacqueline Rogers. Okay, next up, A Voice for the Everglades, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas by Vicki Conrad, illustrated by Ebon Ardenay and Rachel Yu. Everglades National Park. I don't think we've had a book about that yet. So this is about Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, who really dedicated her life to advocating for the Everglades as an ecosystem, and how her advocacy led to Everglades National Parks being created. And in the back, it also has some really interesting information about the ecosystem of the Everglades. So this is a great one if you're planning a trip there. Okay, next up, The Wolves of Yellowstone, A Rewilding Story by Catherine Barr and Jenny Desmond. If you don't already know the history of wolves in Yellowstone, they were not in Yellowstone for a really long time, and it really caused some major problems with the ecosystem because wolves were critical to the ecosystem of Yellowstone. So they reintroduced wolves and it transformed everything. And this is a children's book about that. This is probably for your older kids. There is a lot of information. You can kind of see the text is pretty small there. So this is going to be probably for your older elementary schoolers or even middle school kids to learn about this. And last, for the picture books, I'm going to talk about two books at once, Grand Canyon and Redwoods, both by Jason Chen. They are fantastic children's books about these national parks. Jason Chen has a way of writing about these national parks that really bring a sense of awe while also talking about the science of each of these national parks. The illustrations are beautiful. So Redwoods, it's like this kid who is in a city and then suddenly he's transported into the Redwoods. Beautiful. And Grand Canyon, first of all, there's a map. We love a map. Beautiful illustrations that talk about the Grand Canyon. And then also all around the edge, you're going to find illustrations of different animals. You're going to find stuff about the geology of the Grand Canyon. So if you're planning to go to either of these are two great books. Okay, I have two books left to share. One is a middle grade book. This is The Unlikely Hero, The Story of Wolf 8. This is a middle grade book for your older elementary school and even middle school readers. And this is about that same rewilding of introducing wolves back into Yellowstone with more information for your older readers. And this is by Rick McIntyre and David A. Polson. And last, Not Our Summer by Cassie Bazet. This is a YA book, so it's going to be for your older middle schoolers and high schoolers, and it is about two cousins who are estranged, kind of. They have a family feud going on between their two sides of the family, and when their grandfather dies, he leaves them an inheritance, but they have to go on a trip together in order to get it, and that trip is across multiple different national parks all across the United States. And I think you can probably imagine where this goes. So if you have a kiddo who likes realistic fiction, family stories that also incorporate travel, here's a book to pick up or recommend to them. Okay, so those are the books I have to share with you today, all set in national parks. There's so many that I want to read, so many of these that I've loved. If you have a favorite national park book, leave it in the comments below. And like I said, I'm going to put in the description of this video a link to my blog post with even more book recommendations. And if you liked this video, please hit subscribe so you never miss a video. I'm going to have more book videos coming up, more travel videos, and I'll see you next time. I need a sip of water.